So I wanted to make a video talking about the trip I took last year to Yellowstone National Park, and that was a pretty amazing trip, to be honest. Just real quick, I want to say, if you're going to Yellowstone, be sure to spend a decent amount of time there. You're probably going to want to be there a minimum of like 2 weeks to really not only get to see everything there is to see out there, but to enjoy your stay. Um, we tried to push everything into like a week. It would even be nice to stay, 3 weeks if you could. That way you can really take everything in. But it's still an enjoyable trip. It's definitely worth going at least once. You should go at least once in your life. It's amazing to see some of those things out there. So we decided to do a road trip out there. We typically do road trips. Now, how I do it is a little bit different than how most people probably do it. Is I drive straight there. I don't stop. Like I'm going there, and there might be things we stop off and see on the way, but like we stopped off on the way to Yellowstone and saw Iowa 80, which is pretty cool. Largest truck stop in the world. That's definitely worth checking out if you're going through that way. So we stopped off there and then continued on our way out to Yellowstone. Now, that was a long drive. And when we were coming towards Yellowstone, we drove up around through Montana. So not to the north entrance, we were going to the west entrance, West Yellowstone. So we were driving through Montana, through Big Sky Country, and actually got to drive through an Indian reservation and kind of see how those folks live. Very interesting to see. I don't want to necessarily get into all that, but it's interesting to see, and drove through Big Sky Country. We were out there when it was really hot, and so thank goodness the air conditioner didn't fail in my car, but there were some areas where we came to a stop and, driving a little bit slow and putting my windows down for a while, and I could just hear the tires sticking to the road. Like I knew they were going to be eaten up. It was hot out there. It was over 100 degrees was on my dash is what it was showing. Really, really hot. But it was interesting to see, and interesting to see Big Sky Country. Like you're driving down the road and there's nothing for miles. Like road and maybe some power lines and hills, and it's just nothing, which is very, very interesting to see. I mean, it really makes you think about how things, how it used to be. And then also when people were moving out there and everything, like that would have been rough. It's not like it is today. So very cool to see. Then we went to West Yellowstone. And now we're going to stay at just one hotel, obviously, in town. We went to the Branding Iron Inn, and we actually switched our room, so we opted to get one that was in the basement. When we got there and we were talking with them and realized, oh, that has a full kitchen with a full refrigerator, bigger room, and it was like, okay, that sounds really nice, I can have some healthier food options in the fridge if I help have some fresh fruit ready, and be able to wash my food and everything and prepare it. And so we took that room and got down there, and the room was a little bit musty. It was okay overall. I always take a special spray I have with me and spray down the hotel rooms in case there's any musty smell. It gets rid of all that, and if nothing else, just to make sure it's like clean, because it also will kill germs. And I like to go over the carpets and different things, and so we did that. After I sprayed that, musty smell went away, so it was fine. And we stayed there for a couple nights. Then I think it was the third night, uh, someone got the room right next to us, and there must have been like, sounded like there was 50 people in the room. I mean, it was loud. Those walls are thin. It was fine the first couple nights because no one was there. So the next day we moved to another hotel in town, the Stagecoach Inn, and it was nice and quiet. And the Stagecoach Inn, much nicer hotel overall. Um, the Branding Iron Inn's breakfast is terrible, by the way. It tastes like being there a few days. It seems like they were just reheating things from the day before. And the Stagecoach Inn, the breakfast, I mean, I'm not saying it's great. It was better. Um, and so and also the interior was real nice. The only thing I did notice, I have allergies to an extent, and I would sit and drink coffee in front of the fireplace they have there. It's beautiful, and I would get a little stuffy after a while. And so I think it's from the stuffed animals they have. They have bears and, moose on the wall and these other things. And really nice looking, but I think it's a little bit dusty. So if you have severe allergies, that might be something you want to keep in mind. Other than that, I mean, the rooms were clean. It was a nice hotel. And I would stay there again. In fact, if I was going back to Yellowstone, I would probably that's probably the one I'd stay at. And then West Yellowstone, I mean, it's a really cool town. And I know a lot of people we'll talk about trips, and they'll be like, oh, tourist traps and all these other things. It's like, uh, I'm kind of going there as a tourist. I want to have fun. I want to experience the touristy things. And it's like, I don't need to know all the details about living there necessarily. So, it's kind of cool to hang out in town, and they have a lot of places to eat at, shops, and all these other things. One place we went to that was really cool is the Wild West Pizzeria. Got a glass from there. It was a really cool place. They have a lot of Steelers and Pittsburgh teams stuff inside, so it made us feel like we were back at home. And the staff was really friendly, gave us some credits for the jukebox. And so we were playing music in there and having a good time. And that's one of the reasons you want to spend more time, is because if you want to relax, you want to be able to go out to eat and have a good time at the end of the day or whatever, you're going to need time, because when you go to Yellowstone, you're going to quickly realize everything in the park is a long drive. And I mean, that's okay. It's a big park. It's nice. I'm just saying it's going to take more time than what you initially anticipated. And another place I would say don't go to, we tried in town, is the Haagen-Dazs ice cream stand. Not good. Not good. It doesn't, I don't think it's the same ice cream as what everyone likes to get. It's just not good. Tastes very syrupy, in my opinion. I got something chocolate. I don't remember exactly what it was. It tasted almost like they used Hershey syrup. I mean, it wasn't good. And then the next few times we went and got ice cream, we got them from local places in town that I don't remember the names of them, but they were just little stands, and they had very good ice cream. One of them had something that was chocolate orange. That was really good. I got that 2 or maybe 3 times, and then they have huckleberry flavored everything out there. So, got the huckleberry stuff. And it was good too. I like the chocolate orange bear. But and then there's another cool place in town called the Yellowstone T-shirt Company. You can go get T-shirts made and stuff. This is one I had made there, and you can get stuff put on the arms, they'll put on the back, make hoodies. It's really cool. They took and cast squeegeed the colors on here and then put the print over top of that, and it's just a really cool look. This is one of my favorite shirts. So I would definitely go there again. And of course, it costs, a decent amount of money to get all these extra things put on. But, it's a souvenir, it's part of the fun. And imagine how much it would cost if you don't buy it while you're there. So there's two types of buyer's remorse. And one is you didn't get the things you wanted. And if you got to travel all the way back out there, imagine how much it would cost to get that. So I would say just get it while you're there if you want it. But yeah, and here's one reason you're going to need more time is because when you start going into the park, at least when we did, well, number one, there's a lot of other people going through the checkpoint to go into the park, and that causes traffic jams. That's not too bad. When you get into the park, you're going to realize there's a lot of buffalo on the road. At least there was when we were there. And it's cool at first. It's so cool because they're walking by the cars, and you're not supposed to get out. You're not supposed to try to interact with them. You just hold still and let them pass. And it's really cool to see. But they seem to really like walking on the road and blocking the road and laying on the road. And at least that was what they were doing when we were there. And so that takes up more time that you needed to do the things you're trying to do. It's cool to see, but just be aware that they're probably going to be blocking the road. So another, and then of course you gotta visit the iconic things like the Grand Prismatic Spring. That's probably my favorite thing I saw. Drinking from my Yellowstone Grand Prismatic Spring coffee cup. Yeah, the Grand Prismatic Springs, they are spring, and the springs that are surrounding it, they're beautiful. And to think that that's just from different temperatures and the bacteria in the pool, it's just amazing. And then the viewpoint is kind of up on a hike. They also have helicopter rides, but when we were out there, it was real windy, and the whole time I only saw one helicopter. So I'm assuming that if we had time to take a helicopter ride then, probably wouldn't have been able to just because of the winds. Old Faithful was really cool to see too. Got to see it erupt twice. And we went to the Old Faithful Lodge. That we didn't stay there. It's a shame. We were initially considering staying there, but the rooms that were available were the rooms with the communal bathroom, so we didn't really know how that would work, and the reviews were kind of mixed. That's why we decided to stay in West Yellowstone. But it is really cool. You can just go in the building and you can walk up the stairs and see the log cabin structure. Oh man, that is cool to see. You gotta stop there and check it out. And then from Old Faithful, you can take a walk down. They have a trail down to the Morning Glory pool. That's really cool to see too. And don't throw things in it, because they're having a problem with people doing that. And they try to fish things out occasionally. And throwing things in it is clogging it up and ruining the pool. So, don't do that. Just get your pictures, enjoy the scenery of it, and leave it alone. But really beautiful, really cool to see. We drove around the park a lot, looking for wild animals and different things, trying to see moose. We didn't get to see any moose. Trying to see some bear, which we actually did get to see some bear on the last day, and very grateful for that. By that point, we had already kind of conceded, thinking we weren't going to see bear, and so we went to the wolf and bear exhibit they have in town, where they have a bunch of different animals. They have a bunch of grizzlies in there, and it's really cool. It's that was fun to see, but it's just more exciting to see them in the wild. And so, yeah, but we didn't get to see any moose from driving around. Got to see elk, um, and they are very, very large. But yeah, and then we would drive around at night trying to see different wild animals, and we got to see some wolves on the road, which was cool. Coyotes, and we stopped off to look at the Milky Way galaxy, which you can see the whole thing at night, and that is really, really cool to see. Where I live, there's a lot of light pollution, even in the areas where you can drive out to certain areas, you can kind of see it, but there you're looking at the Milky Way. And although it is kind of eerie being out there in a sense because it's pitch black. You go out, drive, shut off the car, pitch black. You really don't know if an animal's going to come up on you or anything, and it is a little eerie feeling. So really cool though. So yeah, let's see. Oh, went to see Yellowstone Falls and the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone, and they have trails and stuff to walk around there. That's a really cool thing to check out too. Really beautiful. So you gotta get your pictures there. Went up to Hot Springs. Now again, they had the north entrance closed, so which is a shame because there were some things we went to check out in that area. But um, we still got to see Hot Springs and got to see the town. And the town was real interesting because when we drove through initially, we noticed these signs that said "Don't feed the wildlife," and quite a few of them in town. And it wasn't until we came back the second time there was a ton of elk just hanging out in town. And some people were walking up really close to them, whatever they say not to, but that's on them, whatever they do. But it was just really cool to see the elk hanging out in town, just walking around, laying down. Didn't seem to care about anyone there either. Went to see Yellowstone Lake, and they have a hotel there. That would have been another cool place to stay at. I think the same company that runs the Old Faithful Lodge runs that one. I think they run all the hotels there actually in the park, so that's just something to keep in mind. But yeah, it was really beautiful, really cool to see that. One day we stopped by a river to have a picnic, and that was kind of nice. To go around, was going around looking at some of the different flowers, just kind of taking in the park. One thing I thought was really cool is to see the blue and like orangish red dragonflies, and those are just really pretty. They're really cool to see just flying along the river, and they don't seem to mind, people too much. Trying to um, kind of catch them and see what they look like, and they don't do anything. Um, on the final day that we were there, we saw a bull elk on the way out. Now that was impressive to see, the antlers on him and how large he was, and really glad to see him because we'd only seen the cow elk up until then. Man, he was a big guy. It would have been really cool to see a moose, to kind of get an idea in real life of the comparison. Now, while we were in that area in Yellowstone, we also visited the Grand Tetons. And one thing I'll say is that the Grand Tetons are kind of like a vacation spot in and of themselves. You could combine them in the Yellowstone trip, but we sanctioned off like a day to go visit them, and I don't think that's enough. We drove down on the Idaho side of the Grand Tetons, which is cool. We drove down there and then came up the other side, the eastern side of them. And so it created a cool perspective of getting to see what they look like. And when you drive down that side, you kind of drive up a mountain and then come down into the Jackson area. And we spent a little bit of time in Jackson. Um, Not too much, but it's a cool town. Like I said, that's a vacation spot in and of itself. Although if I was going to visit the Grand Tetons, they have cabins in the park that are right on the water where you can see the mountains and everything. That's where I would stay. That we drove through to look at them, and it's like I didn't even know those were there, but that's where I would stay if I went to visit the Tetons. Um, and of course, we went to see Mormon Row and the iconic spot with the barn and the pictures. And that is a beautiful spot. I mean, it's really cool. We stayed there a little bit, and there's jets coming in, and you can see the mountain behind them as they're descending to land. And that's just a really cool thing to watch, you know? So, yeah, and then as we were leaving Yellowstone, we left through the eastern entrance and went to Cody. And so we spent a night in Cody, which is a really cool spot. Again, I think that might be kind of its own trip because Cody's a really cool town. Although you could combine it with something else, I suppose, but it would have been nice to stay a little longer than we did there. So we stayed at an Airbnb, which was on someone's ranch, and it was okay. The place was clean and everything. However, um, the way it was, Airbnb was odd. The way it was described, like it looked like we would have a view off the porch of the building we were staying in, and the front porch faced their house. So that was kind of weird. And this only thing is, it would have been nice. They said we could walk around their property if we wanted to. We didn't have time to do that, but it would have been really nice had we had a little more time, even a day, and would have been able to do that. Honestly, though, if you're going and you're not gonna, you just want to go back to the wherever you're at and relax. I don't know, that was just kind of weird. The porch facing their property. Other than that, it was okay. But if I had to do it again, I think we should have stayed at the Irma because we actually did go to the Irma and go in the bar and get some drinks, and that was a really cool bar. One thing that I thought was interesting, they had a little band there playing, and when they were playing a Jimmy Buffett song, and when they got to the part where he's singing about searching for his lost shaker of salt, everyone in the bar started saying, "Where's the salt? Where's the gosh darn salt?" And it's just really cool. They don't do that where we're from, so it's really cool to see how they kind of sing along with the song out there. Another thing we checked out while we were out there is Old Trail Town. That's definitely worth going through. It's where the Hole in the Wall Gang's cabin is, and they have a whole bunch of other structures out there. So kind of cool to go through and see some of those things. Yeah, and Cody is or at least they say in Wyoming, the rodeo capital of the world. And so if you go out there, they have rodeos there. Right? Is that on the western side of town? Before the old trail town. And so if you go out there, you gotta go see a rodeo and check that out. Again, that's one reason you need a little bit more time. I was actually coming down with a cold as we went there, and so driving through the mountains, the pressure in my head was just driving me nuts. And so we were going to go to a rodeo, but I I couldn't do it. At that point, it was just a little bit too much, and so couldn't do it when we went into town and had to kind of postpone all that. But if I ever make it back, that's one thing I'm going to do. Another thing I like to do is kind of get my own souvenirs. And this one, I picked this up, let's see if that'll come through on camera. That's a piece from the Grand Prismatic Spring area, because the buffalo will walk through there, and it's kind of spongy when it's wet. I'm not going to press on it because it's dried out now. But, and, you know, right off the trail, there'll be some pieces. What I thought was kind of neat is when I reached down to pick that up, initially there was a lot of stacked electricity. I got a little shock from that. I thought that was funny. And then I like to grab, see if things that come through on camera. Little natural souvenirs. It's kind of neat to see. Especially it's neat to see some of the different ones. I don't know all of the different materials these are, but like I have different ones I picked up different parts of the country and they're different compositions. It's just neat. So overall, Yellowstone was an awesome trip. I mean, and I would love to go back. It would be really cool to go back and just spend more time, and maybe even go back and take a camper and camp in the park. That would be really cool too, because they have campsites. But yeah, just it would have been nice to have more time to do it a little bit more relaxed. Other than that, it was an absolutely amazing trip, and I would recommend anyone who wants to try to work out some time where you'll be able to take it and enjoy the trip and take everything in. And not only that, but have time to go on some of the hiking trails to get some of the nice viewpoints and really enjoy the trip. So, yeah, Yellowstone National Park. Definitely a interesting, adventurous trip. Be sure to like and subscribe for more.